Right. Alright, let's see how this goes. I've been kind of working on it already today. Figured I might fire up the stream and work on it a little more before I go to bed. Last late night stream I did, I started working on some ActivityPub stuff, and ActivityPub is the web protocol behind Mastodon and Friends. And I've been planning on a while, actually. Maybe I should pull up my wheel of side projects. Oh yeah, by the way, hello to folks who've hopped in. Thanks for coming in from Toot Cafe. Hopefully this is not super boring. But I figured I might just jump in and hack on some code. The last streams I was doing, actually I could probably jump into my desktop now and you can follow along what I'm going to start to hack on. There we go. What I might start these streams with is a little project that I worked on probably like 2 streams ago. And I made a wheel of side projects because I have too many side project ideas. But I landed on one, and it's hacking on Mastodon ActivityPub stuff that I've been meaning to do for a long time. And if Glitch ever loads my project, that's one thing that's bad about Glitch, is if you neglect your project, they just stop running. But it is also on Glitch that I'm starting to hack on this new thing. So if you haven't used Glitch before, Glitch is kind of cool. It's this, this is Glitch, but you could probably see more of it from, like, say, the home page, maybe. I'm going to try to do some more of my projects on Glitch because it's really easy to share things. Glitch gives you an in-browser code editor, and it also gives you a little slice of a Linux box behind it. And it also gives you a domain name. And it lets you import and export code to and from GitHub. So this thing I'm starting to work on here, this is all in my browser. And it's running on a little domain name. And you can get to it right now, but it probably won't do a whole lot for you because I'm going to start working on a bunch of the endpoints are going to require login, so you can look at it if you want, but it won't do much for you. Projects that are more suited for sharing right off the bat are things like, yeah, here we go. This is what I might poke around with a bit more for future streams, as I started putting together this wheel of side projects, so that if I can't decide what to work on a stream, I can just spin this thing. And what's cool about Glitch is actually I did some of these, so I left a little Glitch button in over here. And I can hop into the editor for this project right from my browser. And I can say, oh hey, by the way, I have finished fixing the federation on my Mastodon instance. I can delete that. And actually this is the one that I'm working on tonight, is a single serving ActivityPub. So the Mastodon stuff is starting to get more popular. It's kind of like it's been billed as a replacement for Twitter, which is more or less accurate. But it's based on some protocols that have been around long before the effort started, and it's based on some other protocols that I think have come out since. But basically, it's your microblogging kind of thing, so you can send little messages at each other, like you do on Twitter. Like this is mine, it's open right now, it's a big wall of text and messages from people. You're familiar with Twitter, and I think like most of humanity is, you know what this is about. The difference is this is a distributed federation of people running their own servers, which is kind of a cool alternative to the central silos. And so what I'm starting to hack on, I've got a Mastodon instance of my own, and I've had it running for a while. A Mastodon instance is meant to serve, you know, hundreds of thousands of people. I want to make something that talks to Mastodon and other friends, like I think one's called Pleroma, to participate in that Fediverse, but be tiny. To be a node in that Fediverse that only supports one user. And the reason for that is, one, it's simpler, and two, I think it might, I don't know, this might be like weirdly altruistic, but it might be easier for people to set up and be accessible to more people. And I'm going to skip this song because this is not super great. Can't play that one. But at the end of the day, if it's just simpler for me to run a Fediverse compatible little messaging site, then that's cool. I've got this music player on like shuffle across a whole bunch of sites of chiptunes and Amiga mods. Still looking for lots of favorites. It's kind of hit or miss sometimes though. Might be a good one though. I'm gonna keep that in the rotation. So anyway, my last project that I was working with is this wheel of projects. And the activity pub thing is what it picked for me. So I think I'm gonna keep running from it, or running with it. But yeah, I might spin it and find some more things for the next stream. And it's just all it's all powered by this little text list and a React app that probably doesn't need to be React. But Glitch is great for this kind of thing, because actually what you can do, you can go to my wheel of side projects yourself right now if you wanted to and spin it. What's even more fun though is you can go to this little Glitch fish icon and say remix. And when you click remix, you get your own personal clone of my project with a new name. And you can go in there and edit the text file and fill it out with your own side projects. Like I just remixed my own project, but you could do it too if you had a Glitch account. And that's kind of the scaling model that I want to do for this single serving, single user activity pub site, which is if you want to use it, go ahead and remix mine and you get your own copy of it. And since I'm Glitch, you get the editor, you get hosting for your project, like I just remixed this. Here's a new copy of it, eskeetkidney.glitch.me. You can rename it too if you want. And behind the scenes, there's a whole little Linux server running. You could actually access the shell on Glitch. Do all kinds of fun things there. And so to install my ActivityPub server, if it ever gets to the point where it's usable, to install it, all you gotta do is remix my Glitch project. Now, that's all pretty grandiose. I'm nowhere near to the point where you should bother remixing my project and use it. But I'm gonna hack on it a little bit tonight. And see if I can get it a little bit closer to actually talking on the Fediverse. So what I did in one of my last streams is I just started following a little tutorial, and I did manage to build a tiny little client to send out toots as messages on the Fediverse, on the Mastodon chunk of the Fediverse are called. So I did get it to send out a toot. And the next thing was to get it to receive messages. And that's the part that I'm kind of hacking on now. And this thing kind of ballooned. Like I turned it into a Node Express server with a Webpack built React Redux app. And I don't know if that's applies as yak shaving, but I've done a whole lot of yak shaving. Yeah, so I did manage to actually get a toot out finally. I was working on just getting that to work the other night, and it wasn't working, and it wasn't working. And then I discovered, well, it didn't send out a toot as my account, though. It sent out a toot as itself. So on this picodon.glitch.me, this will technically be an instance in the Fediverse. And I've got an account, an identity, an actor on it called BotBot. And so over on my Mastodon site, I've got a tester account, and then I've got BotBot, and they're talking back and forth. I managed to get BotBot to send out a toot the tester saw. So I finally managed to get that to work, and I realized by the end of my last stream why it wasn't working. And oh yeah, hi, by the way, GamersApp. I realized why it wasn't working is, which led me down another rabbit hole, my personal Mastodon instance has been misconfigured for a year, and was only sending out messages, and only receiving about a third of the messages that got sent back to me. So that was interesting. So the reason why I couldn't get this thing to send out a message is because the instance I was trying was refusing messages. And so that led me down this whole rabbit hole of figuring out how HTTP signatures work on Mastodon. And it's interesting. There's this whole thing where when an instance sends a message to another instance, the user sending it has basically, they've got an actor resource representing them at a URL on the originating site. And that actor URL in it contains it contains a public key. And so I've actually got that working on Picadon right now. So you can look at BotBot. There's no HTML page for the accounts yet, but you can look at the actor resource for this bot. And so one of the things in here is a public key. Well, what happens is when this instance sends a message to the other one, it does it by way of an HTTP request. Well, there's a standard here where you can take a bunch of the headers from the HTTP request, format them into a very particular formatted string, and then sign that string with the private one of this public private pair. So on the other end, on the receiving side goes and fetches your actor resource, grabs that public key, and then independently from the headers of the incoming request forms that special signing string. And then it checks and then on one of the other headers is the signature. So the receiving site builds its own version of the signing string independently and checks, is the incoming signature signing, is the incoming signature verified against this signing string and that public key. So you can tell this particular HTTP request was initiated by that particular actor. And so that's a little bit of security to verify, like, this user did send this request. And it goes further than that, and I haven't gotten into it yet, but you can also then, within the toot, within the actual message, you can use that public key, use that key pair to sign the message itself. So then when the message is forwarded along through the network, it can always be traced back to the original author. And that stuff is all kind of invisible right now in terms of Mastodon UI, but it's something I might play around with a little bit more. So yeah, that was one of the things I learned over the weekend, was my instance was building that signing string, and one of the components and all the HTTP headers are in that signing string. Well, the host header for my site was using localhost instead of its actual domain name. So every message, how is it working? Like, it seemed like half the messages going out. Oh, I know what it was. All the messages coming in, part of their signing string had my site's host, because they were saying, like, this is the host we were making this request to. Well, my host thought it was localhost and not at lmorchard.com. So every HTTP request coming in to deliver a message to me had, as far as my site was concerned, an invalid signature. So my site just kept throwing out all the messages and rejecting them because the signatures didn't match. Well, I fixed that, and then the thing I was banging my head on the other night worked. So it turns out the code I was working on the other night was correct. It's that the server I was trying to use was wrong. I got all that correct, which then led me to building all this code, which is, I think there's a node, an NPM module for all this that I could have used, but I wanted to learn how it worked. So I implemented it myself. I know it's kind of a they call it an idiom, or it's a saying among security professionals, say, like, don't implement your own crypto, which I didn't really do here. I'm using Node's crypto, but I built my own signing strings. Man, I'm froggy tonight. I'm also spilling water all over myself. I may run off and get some more water in a minute. Anyway, and my music stopped. Anyway, what I learned is how to, first of all, build that signing string. And I dug into Mastodon itself to get it to spit out the signing string so I could see exactly how it was constructed. And I found a standard for it. I think it was like an RFC or something. So I read up on it and I've got this code to work. So I got this little function here that generates the signing string for signing and verification. I came up with both sides of that. The thing to sign a request on the way out and a thing to verify a request on the way in. So what all of that is to say, I think I've gotten to the point where I can send out a toot and I can receive a reply and verify the HTTP signature. Which seems like not much, but it ended up being a bit of a headache. Mostly my own fault. And then I was like, great, now I'll just start receiving toots. And then I got into a whole rabbit hole of, okay, well now I need a front-end client to send toots, and now I need the back-end server to receive them, because I started reading ActivityPub spec, which is ActivityPub. I was actually just looking at it. But I like this little diagram. This is a pretty good diagram of the ActivityPub model. And how it works is, so this is your server. And what you can do is you are an actor, bots are actors, anything that sends or receives messages are actors. Actually the targets for messages. And so you can use a client to post a message to your outbox, and then the server delivers it to other systems. And then the rest of the world can post messages to your inbox, and then your client can receive them. Well, I haven't recreated Mastodon from scratch yet, but that's my sort of goal. I've got part of it working, so I can send and I can see the messages come back. So this is about as far as I am now, as I've got, and I'd say that might be a little grandiose to say I'm going to recreate Mastodon from scratch, but I do want to get it to the point where it'll work for a single user. What route am I looking for here? Yeah, so this file here are the web routes for one user. And this bit here is what I'm starting to work on. And it's very bare bones right now. It doesn't really do much at all. So, and that's where I fell down the rabbit holes. I want to start building a user interface for all this. And I want to flesh out the server. Because what I can do right now, if I hop over here, so this is my glitch editor. This is my console attached to this project. And I've got a Mastodon site over here. I can send a message. So that just went off to my site. I can go over to my site here and I can see that's very, very messy right now, but because I've been testing. This message just showed up. It's 11:23, yeah, so this is the message I just sent. To keep it simple, I'm just setting a hello world and a random number. But now the interesting part is I can look at the logs. So this is another thing you can do in a glitch project, is it's got little logs so you can see what's happening as things come in and hit my server. From Mastodon, I can say, you can see, this is how I've been testing it so far. I can reply to that too. If I hop back over to Picodon, here a request came in. And here I'm just spewing stuff out to the console. These are the headers that came in. Here's that HTTP signature I was just talking about. Here's the JSON body that represents the reply toot. Got quite a lot of stuff in it. And then down here, since I successfully validated the signature, I sent back a 202 accepted to Mastodon. So next steps are to actually start to turn this into a usable application. So then there's kind of two steps to that. One, I want to start putting a user interface around this client I built to send to. And then I want to start accepting these requests and store them in a database so that I can see my replies and other toots on a web page. Very basic stuff, but I have it, but I'm not. I need to actually implement it. What I've been doing instead of implementing that exact thing is I've been implementing all this kind of server underpinning work, and I've also started working on the like skeleton of a React app. And what I just got working earlier today is a login screen. So, not major rocket surgery exactly, but I do have this thing now where I can log in. I'm logged in now, so now I should be able to start adding the stuff that, like, as this user, I can start tooting, because I don't want any random person to come in here. Even though it's a single user site, I still do have it password protected. So I guess one of the first things I might start to do then is to add the tooting side, the sending side. I guess I'll just start diving into that. So this is going to be really messy. I might just try to get the mechanics to work first before I actually like try to make it look presentable at all. That should be almost immediate. Yeah, so the other thing I got working too is hot modular placement, which is a really nice feature of Webpack. So I can do things like, yeah, I can edit things and they appear almost immediately, well, very quickly in the web app without having to reload the page. So I can actually put the app and the editor side by side, move things around. That's pretty handy sometimes. But I guess the thing I want to start adding here, I guess, to be able to start sending messages. Of course, this is one of the things I run into all the time. Is one of the hardest problems in computer science is naming things. So then I start to get like weird writer's block on figuring out a name. We need a lot of good music. This kind of sounds like role-playing game store music. Let's jump into Zoids. That's pretty epic. Alright. Yeah, I'm just gonna start doodling in code. Let's see. I'll probably need another form with a text area. Eventually, you know, and actually I'm gonna throw that into a React component. Let's say here, let's give it a dumb name that'll make me giggle until I come up with a better name for it. Make a little React component there, give it a render method. And this is going to be the thing responsible for taking in my message and calling some API on my server to send it. Now what's interesting is ActivityPub does define, it looks like I might have an error. ActivityPub does define a client to server protocol And that is not the same as the Mastodon client protocol. But I might start by trying to implement activity pubs. It's kind of like an independent, oh no, I know what I did. Independent implementation of this thing. This is what I get for just kind of slowly starting to doodle with bad code. My goal here is going to be to just make a little text box that will send my message. I'll just kind of iterate my way towards it. The one thing I wish that Glitch had is is splits in the editor, because I often work when I'm doing like React or something. I'll work in multiple windows at the same time. Like I want to work on the CSS, I want to work on the server side, I want to work in the markup all at once. So yeah, so I'm gonna make this form actually like send out the message. And I don't have a listener for this yet, so I'm still just kind of like starting from one end, and then I'll fill in the details as I go. Let's see, I'm gonna call this, I don't know, content. And I think when I click that button, it's just gonna submit. Well, maybe I want to do like. Doesn't really matter. This is probably all going to change at some point anyways. This is just kind of the hello world part of the endeavor. Now one of the things you can do with this, if I can remember how I did it elsewhere. Yeah, oh, it actually did it elsewhere in the same file. Yeah, so I can do, I want to capture the data from this form. And I can do that with a ref, which I just did in another component on this page. So I can steal that too. And this is just a way to get access to the DOM element of a React component after it's been rendered. And that's useful for a form because what I did down here in the login form, you can do this. You can grab a form data object that extracts all the data from the form. I could do something more complicated where I could put an onChange handler here and just like grab the info as it changes, but I really just care about it when I submit. So when I submit, eat this. I can just do form data get content, and it's not going anywhere yet. I just want to see it working to make sure I got my React code correct. It looks like I broke something again. I do that a lot. Seriously? I just reload. Okay, yeah, I think it just hot reloaded while I was in the middle of typing something. That is a danger with the way Glitch works with this hot reloading. So when I click this, I should just see a message. Nope, I did not, in fact, because I forgot to prevent default. Yes. So since I'm handling this form entirely by myself, I just want to stop the browser from doing its usual thing, which is to submit the form server side. There we go. To its submissions. Okay, so I can successfully get stuff from here. I guess what this doesn't give me is it doesn't clear the form. So I don't know, maybe I do want to do this differently. Well, my music stopped again, that's not so great. How about we do... One man and his droid, and I'm going to... Oh, I'm going to crash my music player again. That back up. You know what song I'm looking for? I also want to shuffle Commodore 64 music. Yeah, that'll work. Let's stick with that. Alright, back to it. So I got a form to hit submit. We get the data. Actually, is form data read write? I don't remember that. I don't think it is. What can you do with form data? I know I can read the data. And you can use it to, like, to send the data to a server. I'm starting to kind of rattle on the wrong things. Can I just set a form with that? Achieving data, sending files. Yeah, I guess maybe not. Yeah, I was just wondering if I could, like, clear the form this way. Oh, my mouse wheel's getting crunchy. I think there's some kitty fur in there. Anyway. Yeah, so form data is a neat little interface. You can get the files out of a form, you can get the all the form elements. I was just wondering if I could push that back into the form, which maybe I can't. There's the other way to do this with React is to make that like a what do they call it? A managed field. So I could say something like and not do it this way. I could say and the benefit of this is I can fully control that state. And I can say so now whenever the text area changes, my component state should change. And then instead of using the form data, let's say this state content, and then once the submission is done, you can say this set state content back to empty because I want to clear the form. Let's see if that works. I just kind of threw that all off from the top of my head. That didn't work. Why didn't it work? Oh, because I also have to do... Yeah. So now it's a managed field. It's kind of heavy-handed, I think, but it's a way to work, I guess. I may poke at that some more. Who knows? There we go. Form clears every time I hit 2. and it shows up in the log. So now I'm going to replace this with an actual server-side call. Actually, two things I want to do here. A couple things I want to do here. I don't want to show this if I'm not logged in. So this is all kind of ugly and nasty, but I'm going to say... What did I call that? I think I called it, is user logged in? It's over here in my store. Is logged in. Yeah, okay. So I can say is logged in. Show the tutor box. I'm sure I'm going to do a bunch more things here, so how about I also do... If one danger of having a web-based editor and then the web page open on the other side is occasionally it steals focus from my editor, which is annoying. So this is just going to be a bunch of stuff that shows up when you're logged in, including the tutor box. I also have to remember this is not Vim. I keep trying to use Vim shortcuts. Alright, when I'm not logged in, the tutor box goes away, and I gotta log back in. Alright, there's the tutor box. Cool, okay. So now, how do I want to do this? I think I might add some new routes. Because now I need to work on the server side a little bit to accept this toot and then turn it into basically doing the thing that client does. Yeah, I'm going to add some new routes. This is another one of the things I was kind of yak shaving on, is building up this kind of skeleton for how to structure this server as modules. Let's make a new routes file. Let's call it, so we've got a few things here. API v1 is where I intend to put some stuff for kind of Mastodon API compatibility. I'm just gonna say here, what do I want to call this? No, I call it Client API. That's a bad name, but let's roll with it. I'm gonna copy pasta some things from here. I think, maybe, might be a bad idea. Man, the scroll wheel is just not happy with me today. Yeah, I'm gonna copy some stuff. So I've got this like this interface or this pattern where I take in the context for the program, which includes a bunch of configuration stuff, and then these things can do whatever they need to do their part in setting up the app, and then they can add to the config if they want. This kind of makes this like a nice little easily expanded thing. I'm not explaining it very well. But it lets me do things like this. I'm kind of running into further naming issues here. This is kind of a crappy name for this, but oh well, we'll continue rolling with it also. So what do I want to do here? I want to add a route for let's just call it toot. And I'm going to accept the post from that. And since this is Express, all of your route handler, all your method handlers can take a request and a response. I'm just going to peek at another one that I did recently so I can remember a little bit. Yeah, this is pretty common stuff. Yeah, thanks for coming by, GamerZeb. Hopefully it was at least somewhat engaging as I'm stumbling into things. Alright, so what are we gonna do here? We're gonna accept... Thanks for the fireworks. So now I've just added a server-side route to accept some traffic from the client. And that's going to be at client API v1 toot. So what I can do back here in the tutor box is I can say fetch client API v1 toot. Method is post body, going to be content, and content headers. I don't know if I need all this strictly, but we'll see. This song has been going on forever and ever. It's it's just a very long song. Let's keep going. And I just wrote some fetch calls earlier so I can see. Oh, I gotta stringify it. Okay, well, let's see. I may at some point switch to some async await code in here, just to neaten this up. Oh, web console, stop stealing my focus. Can't fix the code you're telling me about when you do that. What else do I want to do with this? Do I want to do the... Yeah, I think I want to do that. So fetch is a nice little API, promise-based. You have to use asynchronous decoding of the request bodies, which can get a little annoying, but that's alright. And this would be a lot cleaner with async await, but I just feel lazy right now. And all I'm doing here really is just saying, oops, man, this is still not Vim. You know, I don't need you right now. What are you barking about? You don't need to yell at me about that. Oh, I know what it's yelling about. That's a syntax error. It's a little overzealous in the reloading, in the error messaging. It glitch saves your files like multiple times a second, or at least every second or so. And you can configure that. I should actually configure that more. And some of that involves restarting the server as I'm writing server code. But it's nice, it's very responsive that way though. You don't have to reload anything. Alright, so that does look like a fetch call. A second, let me indent all that. Alright. Fine, you can come back, web console. Stop stealing my focus, though. You stole my focus again. Toot failure. Why is this not found? Isn't this the API I just set up? Client API v1 toot. Come on, take me over there. What? Oh, I need to scroll up. Herp. Herpy derp derp. Client API v1 toot. Route. Added it to this. did it not? Shouldn't that be responding to a post already? Oh, yeah. I see. I need to add the slash there, don't I? Because otherwise it's just v1 dude. How about that? Okay, I guess I caught it mid-reload. Stop reloading. No response? Oh, because I'm not sending anything back. There we go. It'll just hang, because I'm not actually sending anything back, which is dumb. Try that. There we go, toot submitted, cool. And of course this will just restart the server. That's one thing that's a bummer, is it will reload the page fully if I edit the server. Alright, cool. So I am successfully getting content from my page into my server. Next step, let's start tearing apart this little client file I've got. And what does it take to send a toot? Well, what this is doing is this is replying to a toot. That's got a toot URL, and from there I parse that URL and I pry it apart and I come up with how to reply to it. That's not exactly what you need to do. One thing that this server, two things this server doesn't have, many things this server doesn't have, it doesn't have a permanent place to store messages yet. Or it does have a place, but I'm not using it. So one of the first things you want to do, what I want this text box to do, is create a new note, which is the activity pub name for what Mastodon calls a toot, and submit it to the server with a create action. So create is the action, note is the object. And generally what you want to do is in the act of creating it, make it available at a URL. So then this note will be available at a URL, and then you can go through with like delivering it somewhere. So I think one of the first things I want to do is if this use this box on the server to create a new note object, and then be able to serve it up at a URL. Now I've got databases for this, but the database the database I'm using is called NEDB for a Node Embeddable Database, and that's a fancy term for what is basically just memory with a append-only JSON log on disk. And what's nice about that is it's got an API similar to MongoDB. But it's not a separate service. Like I'm not running Postgres, I'm not running MySQL. This is just a library that stores a bunch of data in memory and backs it up to disk. So when the server restarts, it loads it back up into memory. And that's not super scalable, but since this thing is meant for one person, I bet you can fit so many toots in this thing. Slaps roof of Pika down. I bet for one person, using an in-memory database will be just fine for a while. It's alright, so I toot a tweet, what happens, go to the server. Now another part of this that I've been working on are these things I've been calling stamps. I don't know if that's exactly the right name for them, but just functions to help me construct ActivityPub data objects. So like actor, which is an object of type person, local actor, it's got all this crap in it. This is very messy right now because I'm still kind of doodling with code. So like here I just kind of like copy pasted in all the fields that have to do with a note. I think I'm gonna remove all the actual content and replace it with parameters. Oh man. don't know how much further I'm actually going to go with this. I figured I'd only stream for about an hour, and it's been about 50 minutes. Most of it's been preamble and talking out loud. I've been kind of using the stream as a rubber duck for some of these projects. But I guess I can get as far as like stick and toots in a database. So let's see. What do I want to... So this is a lot of stuff that is maybe not going to apply to me for right now. Like, I'm not going to build atom feeds right away. I don't think this is going to be a part of a conversation at first. Going to have some content. Ugh, stop stealing my keyboard focus, dang you. No attachments, no tags for now. You know, I'm going to make this real simple. Really, all I want to do is strip it down to some basics. I definitely want note. I'm going to retain that. And I guess, like, if I did some of this with a type checking language, some of this would be useful for, like, enforcing the shape of the data. But a lot of this is just kind of like note keeping to remind myself how this stuff works. I don't have to do a summary. Eventually I want to do replies. We're going to need published. Yeah. This is all just kind of like doodly code. Could be doing this more, I guess more formally or a more planned out way, but I'm not. And this is an interesting thing in activity streams and ActivityPub. This is a special URL. The thing about ActivityPub is you can address objects to actors and collections of actors. And that includes, like, so this would be a toot, a message sent out to my, like, public stream and CC'd all my followers. And this special URL, when used as an address, means post this to, like, my publicly accessible collection, which is, like, you know, the default on Twitter. Big Mastodon interprets the lack of a to be a private message, or pseudo-private, because the interesting thing on Mastodon is your direct messages are not exactly private. They're just kind of a whisper that someone could eavesdrop on. Let's see. It's interesting that these messages have HTML in them. I'm not going to do that for now. I don't know what sensitive means. I'll figure that out at some point. Really, the goal here is I'm just trying to get to the point where I can construct a note object and send it out to followers. I think attributed to is important. Just kind of picking which of these properties I want to fill in. And how many of these I want to, like, make it easy to generate for myself. Because I could just build this stamp such that it generates the unique IDs for these things by itself. Because I did a similar thing up here for actor. I just passed in configuration data from the app and it builds the actor based on config settings. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that right now, though. trying to figure out why, because so Sunset Screen is the old name of this app. I'm trying to figure out why. Oh no, I guess this was an incoming message. So it was addressed to my bot and the followers of the sender. It was kind of weird, I guess, but... Alright. So I guess 2 and CC are important. And basically what I'm doing here, why this ends up, this is a thing I'm spending time on, is because I'm going to use this function to build the note object based on my text area submission. Yeah, I guess that's enough fields right now to make this interesting. Still crashed. I don't think our server still crashed. Okay. Or maybe it is. Crud. What's log say is happening? They've been kind of messing around with this in the background as I've been typing. The server's been reloading and things have been happening and... Okay. So I need to worry about that right now. Okay, so I guess this is okay to work with for now. This is a thing that's exported from this module. Try to go back to Client API. How about we do const object note from lib wall. Of course I've got goldfish memory and I'm getting sleepy. I already forgot what attributes I wanted to grab. Yeah, okay. And I did do this other thing where I can I can generate UUIDs for these. Do I export that? I do export that. So okay, client API from stamps. What? UID. UUID. Let's see. What data am I getting from that? Well, let me type a thing. Oh, that's right. I'm getting confused between client and server logs. Yeah, alright, so I'm getting this JSON from there. So, I'm not doing any kind of error checking here. This is naive, non-defensive coding. And what I'd like to do... Oop, okay. I'm just trying to construct my note here. Some of these I can come up with from configuration on the server itself. And, you know, that's what I want to grab from stamps is ID public. I'm just going to make this a public thing at first. I'm not going to CC to anybody right now. Published is going to be something which I could probably use a helper for at some point, but that's what it is, isn't it? To ISO string. Yeah, new day 2 ISO string. Again, just what I'm doing here is I'm just starting to write kind of the MVP bare minimum code to create a new activity stream note in response to typing here. That's really missing. We're missing content, aren't we? Yeah, content should be listed here too. Keep calm. And I guess Mastodon puts us in a nice fancy HTML wrapper. I don't need to do that right now. I don't think that's what I do back here in this client. See, I'm building a note object here in this client, like just kind of roughly by hand. But I kind of want to be a little more. I'm gonna wrap some more code around it to make it easier for myself to build these things in the future. Okay, so the first part is I'm building this inner data structure. Yeah, okay. Let's fill in the rest of this. So ID is going to be... Yeah, let's just make this, I mean ID and URL can be the same. We're going to change that at some point too though. Let's say... Yeah, we're gonna need some stuff from our, we're gonna need some of this stuff from our site config. Actor URL. And I'm gonna say that all notes are gonna be here. And UUID. Now at some point I'm going to build a route to serve up, well first I'm going to start storing these notes in the in-memory database, and then I'll build a route to start serving them up from there. God, stop stealing my mouse focus. Probably should just Alt-Tab between these, but I like seeing the progress on the other window. I'm not going to CC anybody right now. I mean, ideally I should probably CC followers, but I haven't set up a follower collection yet. You know what, this is bothering me, so I'm going to say stamps. Let's do this. I'm going to use that a lot. Okay. I don't know why when I switch files it throws me all the way down at the very bottom. There's too many U's here. This is a handy thing usually in Glitch. Is they'll tell you what's wrong with the lines of code while you're writing. I've got code linting going on in the background, but that's kind of a nice little immediate tell that something might be wrong. Okay, so I think that's a good bare bones note object. Attributed to... I probably need an attributed to, don't I? Do I have one in there? I do not have that in there. These are some of the basics. I kind of want to do... Nah, I don't need to do this right now. What I actually want to have eventually happen is rather than this little client API router, I want to have this web front end actually use the ActivityPub client to server API, which is decidedly not this. So let me just do this. One of the things that I've got injected into the context up here is I create some databases. And one of them is objects. So maybe what I'll just do right now, I can't quite remember how to use AnyDB, so let's Google that real quick. I just want to save this node object to a database. Very simple, stupid stuff. Insert. Yeah, so I can say maybe objects, insert. That's what I called it, right? I called it objects. Yeah. It's the syntax for insert. Alright, so I can say... Do I want to wrap this in anything? Or just put it in as is? Maybe I'll just put it in as is. I can always come back to this. Although, it does want an ID. So maybe I want to do something like this. And so this is just again, this is an embedded database that's got like an API similar to MongoDB. I'm gonna do that. It's got kind of a wrapper object. Okay. Oh yeah, and I have to import that from the context. Yeah, I'm getting sleepy. I think I might end up calling it a night on the stream early, even though I've only been doing it for about an hour. I'm gonna forge ahead a little bit longer. Okay, so this is promise-based, so I can do... You know what, this should be async await. How about I do... I can do that. I'm pretty sure Express lets me use async await. So that's going to insert that into the DB. Yeah, let's just do that for now. And... Did you log me out? Couldn't have. Yeah, there we go. So really all I want to do now is see that it made it into the database. Dude submitted. I can hop on over here to shell. Yeah, alright, cool. This is what's neat about this database, is I inserted that into a database in memory. And it also saved it out to an append-only log file on disk. No, actually I want to make that object. So I'm already screwing up my schema. What I'm going to do with this is I think next... Actually, I don't need that. What I want to use as an ID is the note UUID. So I'm already destroying my data schema by screwing around with this. But what I'm going to do here is whenever I create a new status, toot, whatever, it's going to be created as an activity stream object and shoved into this database. And so I guess one of the next things I want to do is create another little route here that will make these URLs work. So, and I'm gonna change this too. This is gonna be it's gonna be terrible URLs. I'll just roll with it though. So basically I want it so that every note I create has a unique URL from which you can fetch this JSON. And from there, I can send it on to the other server, I can create displays on the web of them, etc, etc, etc. Alright. See how much farther I get with this. So now I'm going to add another route for objects. And I forget how to parameterize routes. I'll look that up real quick. Just a colon. Yeah, there we go. So I can say actor, router, route, objects. I mean, this is pretty close to like a blog tutorial. But it'll get more interesting as I go. Oh yeah, I gotta import that database and context. Yeah, so here, let's see. Let's make that async. So what I want to do is say, yeah, it's in request params, so I can say const ID. And I can do and I think it's fetch. I think it's fetch. Oh, wrong one. Inserting documents. Finding documents. Maybe it is just find. Because all I want to do is find exactly one object. And I believe it's going to be like this. I can't remember. I swear there was a thing to find exactly one. Find, fetch, update, and remove. Oh, you know, I thought there was a method to find exactly one. Okay, well, I think this is going to throw an exception that comes up empty-handed. So in that case I can do this sounds just a bullshit or the bullcrap response here. But if I do get a result, then I can say so basically all I'm doing here is adding a simple little route so that when I do this, two gets submitted. That really should be a 201 created, I guess. I can go to this URL and find the JSON of that note. And it didn't work. Why didn't it work? It was a 200. Did I not send it? Response send JSON. Just gonna log that real quick. Okay, now why is this happening? Oh, because I reloaded the wrong page. Eesh. Alright. No? This is the fun part in programming. Oh, well, what the heck? What's the UUID? Why are you indenting badly? It's reloading. Where are you? No, the UUID is correct. So much log output. Yeah, no, that's correct. Of course, the other thing this isn't looking for is what user might have created it, but I'm not to that point yet. Man, this is the correct UUID for a thingy, isn't it? 5D4 yada yada. The cursor has given me no results. Why is that? I'm missing something probably about how this is used. Find one is really what I want. Okay, let's try that. Is there a find one in the original API? See, I'm using a promise wrapper of this, which is originally callback based. Find, yeah. What if I want find one? Okay, let's try that again. Slowly inching my way towards getting this to work. Oh, I'm not awaiting. Derp. I have to actually await for the result. There we go. But I'm also not doing... Am I sending the correct content type? There we go. So, that's what I was trying to get at, is so now every time I submit something to that form, it gets saved to my little in-memory database, and each of them have a URL now. This is all JSON and no real good web front end yet, but we'll get to that. That would be useful since this is a public... This is a public status message. There's a thing in the activity pub for this, I think. Yeah, isn't there a public... There's public addressing, but there's not a public collection. Oh well. Oh, what's our next song? I like this song. Alright, so anyways. What's nice is since now every object that I submit has a URL that matches its ID, you can get that you can fetch any object I create, and eventually when I start pushing these out to another server, I can refer to them at these URLs. And actually, that's bugging me. I need to change that. So when I insert a new object, I should be saying status tool 1. Is that correct? Tool 1 created. Yeah, that's correct. Let's do that. But not only that, but I want to say let's turn this into a little helper. What's going on down here? I think. Oh, I'm still console logging that. Because I am noticing, since I did send some toots out of this thing, other instances are hitting this thing with requests that I eventually need to interpret. Yeah, why don't we do this? Just trying to like limit the number of times I have to repeat myself on these things. Now, probably should pass actor URL in there too. What am I doing in stamps? Do I do that kind of thing here? Yeah. These stamps are all agnostic to the config data, so I should pass that in, because I'm going to move that over here eventually. Eventually being in a few minutes. I'm not capitalizing my names of any kind of consistency. I guess location might be a good place for this. Let me set headers in Express. Just set. That's kind of an annoying way to do it. Okay, well. Set. Location. I'll move this into my stamps module at some point soon. Yeah, I'm gonna rename that actually. How about that? Oh man, this game. Remember this game used to freak my shit out. I'm sure there's some framework somewhere I could be using instead of doing all this by hand, but oh well. But yeah, this game on Commodore 64, Forbidden Forest, I believe. Yeah, Forbidden Forest. You're an archer running back and forth through a forest, being hunted by like bees and spiders, and eventually you have to fight a dragon. With bows and arrows. And the deaths were very grim and long drawn out. Where are we at here? Yeah, let's just do that. See, I'm hoping that by constructing things this way, if I need to change URLs and stuff later, I can just do it in these stamps rather than have to wander around the whole code base. And I'm kind of learning what the data schemas look like as I write these things. I think that's all correct. I end up responding with that. Headers, response headers, location, undefined, undefined. I don't like that. That wasn't right. I have the actor URL, I have the, oh I see, I know what I did, I know what I did. I need... Can't just pass them in like that. Pass them in like that. And this is making me uncomfortable too, I'm gonna do this. Base URL. I'm trying to make it as, like, generic as possible. And why do you keep throwing me at the bottom of the file? Alright, let's see. Let's stream for about an hour and a half. I think I'm good for maybe like another 10 minutes and I might call it a night. Just kind of wanted to jump on real fast and play with some of this stuff and see who might show up. I should plan these things better. Slash have a coffee before I do it. Sometimes this progress is not super dramatic. Let's see. But I'm farther along than I was. Okay, so now the location URL is correct. There's, okay. Sweet. Yeah, I think I might actually leave it there tonight. There's a bunch more I need to get into. Like, actually doing the delivery. So now I've got an object. I need to deliver it. Meaning, I send out all the HTTP requests to other servers to say, hey, there's an object over here now. Here it is. Take a look at it. Where's delivery? Yeah, here's delivery. When objects are received in the outbox, yeah, server must deliver target to these fields. So yeah, what I'm kind of stumbling towards right now is just submitting an object to the server and then getting the server to like stash it somewhere and then send it, submit it to all the other servers. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing next. Kind of an uninspiring stream tonight, I guess, but I got a little further. I think I'm just getting really... It's after midnight here, and I'm running out of steam faster than I expected, so... Thanks to anybody who popped by. Hopefully next time I do this, I'll start a little earlier, have a little more steam to to get more things done. But for now, have a good night. Might see you tomorrow if I stream for work.